Today I'm going to show you how to dial in your engraving step by step on my new Monport EFFI16s 150 watt laser so you can get crisp, clean engravings every single time. Hey everyone, I'm Brett and this is my laser garage. My wife and I run a full-time laser engraving business out of our home, and this channel is all about helping you get the most of your laser or CNC setup. In today's video, I'll be walking you through how to set up my Monport EFFI16s for the best possible engraving results. We'll cover everything from initial testing to line interval adjustments to advanced engraving tricks. And although I'll be demonstrating these techniques on my laser, don't worry if you don't have this exact same model. The content I'll be sharing will be applicable to any CO2 gantry style laser. Oh, and stick around to the end of the video as well for my go-to engraving best practices and a special limited time promo code you don't want to miss. First things first, this video is going to assume the optical path of your laser is set up correctly, meaning all three of your mirrors are in alignment and they are clean along with your focus lens. This is going to be crucial to get best results out of your laser and is probably the most common cause of bad performance in my experience. I'll link to my favorite mirror alignment video in the description if you need more help with this step. Now let's get started with the testing. First, we need to set a baseline though. That way we'll be able to evaluate how well our engraving optimization works. Anytime I'm testing a machine's engraving capability, I like to start with the material test card, a simple vector-based test, and then a raster engraving. This will give me a good range of details to look at to see how well the machine is performing. To start off, I ran a light burn material test card on some 1/8" basswood plywood to get some basic parameters down. This card tells me how deep the laser engraves at different power and speed levels. It also shows me how this specific material reacts to the laser, as in how dark the engraving shows up. These tests are important to run whenever you're working with a new laser or new material because it will show you exactly how your laser performs or how different materials react. After reviewing my test card, I now have a better idea about what settings to use, and I'll use that information to create some sample engravings. For my next test, I'll engrave my logo and some text on some 1/4" cherry veneered MDF, and I'll try a photo raster engraving on some 1/8" basswood. I think these will serve as good baselines because the vector test has some areas with a good amount of fill, plus varying sizes of text, so we can test clarity. The raster engraving, of course, will show both gradients and fine details. Both of these will serve as my baseline, and the results will show how my laser performs out of the crate. Now that the engravings are completed, let's take a look at the results. As we look at these samples from far away, they seem okay, but let's get in closer to see if there are any issues we can't pick up from a distance. In the vector test, the area that sticks out to me the most is the small text. It appears a little fuzzy, like the lines creating the borders around the letters are not aligned properly. I can also see a slight stair-step effect around the curved areas, which again make the results a little blurry. Overall, I would say these are pretty good results out of the box, and with me kind of taking a stab at the correct settings and line interval. The raster engraving also looks pretty good, although a little light. Maybe a little bit more power or slightly slower speed would have helped. Also, as I zoom in a little, I notice some of the finer details in the beard and face are not as pronounced as I would like. Overall, I'm happy with this for a first try. But how are we going to improve these results? Let's first learn a little bit about line interval and how to adjust it properly. During vector or line-based engraving, the laser works by scanning back and forth in straight lines. As the head moves left to right on the x-axis and then up along the y-axis, it fires on and off depending on your design. You can see this in Lightburn's preview window. When I zoom in, notice how the engrave is actually built line by line. Each pass of the beam builds upon the last, and together those lines form the image you see. Now for the line interval, or line spacing. That controls how close together those lines are. With a larger interval, the lines are spread further apart. That makes the engraving go faster, but you'll often see visible gaps or a lighter overall look. With a smaller interval, the lines are closer together. That gives you sharper detail and darker engraving. But it takes more time, and if they overlap, the detail can become muddy or burn too deep. So ideally, you want those lines to be as close together as possible without actually overlapping. That's where you'll get the maximum clarity and contrast without wasting time or energy. This is a crucial engraving setting that often gets overshadowed by speed and power, but the truth is all three work together to determine your final result. Your ideal line interval depends upon the spot size of your laser. Spot size is basically the diameter of the laser beam at its focal point. So in simple terms, it's how big or small the dot of light is when it hits your material. Since every type of laser has a different spot size, there's no one-size-fits-all answer for line interval. For example, lower wattage diode and UV lasers have a very small spot size, so you can get away with using a much smaller line interval. That's why they can produce incredibly fine detail. But with my 150 watt Monport CO2 laser, the spot size is much larger. If I try to use the same tiny interval I'd use on a UV machine, the lines start overlapping way too much, and the result is just an overburned mess. The good news is you can still get fantastic engraving results on a high-powered CO2 laser like this. It just comes down to finding the right balance for your machine. So next up, let's run a line interval test and figure out what's optimal for my EFFI16s. Now, Lightburn actually has a built-in line interval test feature, but I find it just as easy to create my own. What I do is make a series of small boxes, set them to fill, and assign each one a different line interval. I like running these tests on coated aluminum business cards because they show the contrast really well and are cheap, but I also like to use basswood as well. For this demo, I tested intervals ranging from 0.2 millimeters all the way down to 0.07 millimeters to really illustrate how line spacing impacts the engrave. You can absolutely judge this by eye because at the end of the day, what looks best to the eye is what matters, but I also like to bring in a simple digital microscope. That way I can really zoom in and see how the lines are sitting next to each other. Here you can see the difference. The wider intervals leave obvious gaps, while the tighter intervals bring the lines closer together. And remember, the goal is to get those lines as close as possible without actually overlapping. On my EFFI16s, the sweet spot landed at about 0.09 millimeter line interval, which gave me the cleanest detail without overburning. I confirmed this using both metal business cards along with some wood samples. So now you've seen how line interval plays a huge role in the overall detail of your engraving. Getting those lines spaced correctly gives you a clean, sharp image without gaps or overburn. But there's another factor that can make or break your engraving quality, and that's what happens when the laser head actually changes directions. Even if your line spacing is perfect, you might still see doubled edges or text that looks a little bit fuzzy. That's where scanning offset comes in, and it's the next adjustment we need to make. So earlier I mentioned doubled edges or text that's a little bit fuzzy. It's possible this could be a mirror alignment issue, but since we're assuming your alignment is on point for the purposes of this video, it's more than likely an offset scan issue. What is offset scanning anyways though? Offset scanning is a setting in Lightburn that helps correct for how the laser fires when changing direction during engraving. When the head scans left and right, it builds up momentum. And without correction, the laser beam can fire just a fraction of a millimeter off when it switches directions. That tiny misalignment shows up as blurry edges or doubled lines in your engraving. In Lightburn, you can adjust the scanning offset to correct for how the laser head changes direction. By dialing in the offset scanning adjustment, you're telling Light to compensate for the back and forth motion, so your lines and text stay crisp and perfectly aligned no matter what speed you're running. Luckily, this is a really straightforward procedure, and I'll show you how to dial it in Lightburn. I like to make 3 rectangles about 2 inches or so wide by 1/2 inch tall. The exact size doesn't matter, but this format works well, especially since, again, I'm using coated metal business cards for testing. So I'm going to create 3 rectangles here. One set at 250 millimeters a second, one at 350 millimeters a second, and the third at 500 millimeters per second, all filled at 20% power. I'll also be using a 1 millimeter line interval. That might sound huge, but the point is to exaggerate the spacing so the alignment issues are easy to spot. After engraving, I take a close look at each rectangle's edges to see if the scan lines are lining up evenly. This is also a great place to break out my digital microscope so I can really zoom in. As you can see, my lines aren't perfectly aligned, so I'm going to need to head into device settings in Lightburn and open the scanning offset adjustment tool. Each speed will need its own correction value, and I like to add 3 speeds, which I find gives good results. I picked these speeds because they are the most common I will be engraving with on this laser. Every machine will vary, so you'll need to experiment with these values until your edges tighten up. There's a little trial and error required. I like to start with the 0.02 millimeter line shift and rerun my test pattern to check the results. Once your settings are in, make sure to check the box to enable scanning offset adjustments, then hit OK to lock them in. I ended up rerunning my test a few times with varying adjustments, but ended up with a 0.08 millimeter line shift at each speed. With the microscope, you can really see the difference. These lines are now much more consistent and the edges look cleaner. Again, it does take some trial and error, but overall it's a simple process to nail down. So with the line interval dialed in and our scanning offsets tightened up, we've taken care of the two biggest factors that can throw off engraving quality. It's time to put it all together and rerun our vector and raster tests to see how much cleaner the EFFI16s performs after these optimizations. As we're watching these engravings, if you found this video helpful so far, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more laser engraving tips and tutorials. Your support really makes a big difference and I truly appreciate it. I also want to share that Monport has given me a special 10% off promo code that works on any of their lasers or accessories. Just use the link in the description or enter Brett10 at checkout to take advantage of this deal. Using that code gives me a small commission, which helps me keep producing content like this, and it saves you some money if you're considering a new CO2 or fiber laser. Just a heads up though, this is a limited time increase from my usual 7% discount, so make sure to grab it while it lasts. So looking at our vector test, I can see some obvious improvements right off the bat. Pay attention to the small text details. We've really tightened up those edges and borders, and those curved lines are coming out much cleaner. Here's a side-by-side comparison, along with some zoomed-in shots under the microscope, so you can see the difference up close. Our raster engraving has also improved significantly. After running the line interval tests, I actually lowered the DPI a bit on this, which might sound counterintuitive, but it pairs better with the spot size of this laser and produces a cleaner overall image. A higher DPI is not always the best. The results speak for themselves. There's more definition in the fine details, like the beard and the face, and the tighter line interval has darkened the entire image in a good way. I can still fine-tune my speed and power settings from here, but honestly, I'm pretty impressed with this photo engraving. I didn't expect a 150 watt laser to pull this off. And with a little more refinement, I know I can get it even better. If you're new to laser engraving, I hope this video shows that every laser behaves a little differently. And with just a few simple tests and adjustments, you can dramatically improve your engraving quality. There's definitely a lot to learn, and honestly, much of it just comes from hands-on experience. With that in mind, let me share some of my best engraving tips that can really help you get consistent, professional results. And if there's a particular tip you'd like me to dive deeper into, drop a comment below and I'll be happy to cover it. First, it's important to understand that different wood species react very differently to engraving. That all comes down to how the heat of the laser interacts with the fibers and density of the wood. Before jumping into a project, always run a quick test. I recommend using the material test card feature in Lightburn. It's an easy way to see how a particular wood responds across a range of speed and power settings. That way you can predict how your final project will look before you commit to it. Some woods like pine just don't engrave very dark by nature. Others like maple, white oak, or cherry give you much richer contrast. And knowing this up front helps you choose the right material for the effect you're aiming for. But even if you're working with a lighter wood, there are tricks you can use to pull out a darker, bolder engraving. And that leads me to my next tip. Another trick to darken up your engravings is to slightly defocus the laser a little bit. By raising the laser head about a few millimeters above the optimal focal point, you actually increase the spot size of the beam. This spreads the energy out and burns the surface a little differently, often producing a darker mark. You can lose a bit of detail in this process, but for larger vector engravings, it's usually not noticeable at all. There's also a method using a borax and water solution. When sprayed lightly on your workpiece, the borax reacts with the heat of the laser to create a dark engrave. It could be a little finicky though. If your power is too high, you'll burn right past the coating and end up with a spotty result. The key is to keep your settings low, so you're only engraving the surface and letting the chemical reaction do its work. Personally, I don't use the borax method often, but when I do, I like to run an initial engraving pass for depth, then spray on a second coat of the borax solution without moving the material. Then I'll run a second light pass to bring out the darker contrast. One thing to keep in mind though, this darkened layer wipes away really easy. So you'll need to seal it with a little bit of clear coat if the piece is going to be handled. This brings me to another really useful but simple tip. Inspect your work before you pull it off the laser. If you're not happy with the initial result, you can often rerun a second or even third pass to deepen the engraving or to darken it up. I do this all the time when a single pass just isn't quite enough. The key here is keeping your material pinned down securely so it doesn't shift between passes. Even tiny movement will ruin your alignment. Having it locked into place means you can rerun the job with confidence and build up the result exactly the way you want it. This is especially important with plywood because thinner sheets like 1/4 inch or less tend to warp and won't always lie perfectly flat on their own. Keeping it secured makes your engravings more uniform and predictable. And finally, here's another tip that surprises a lot of people. Higher speed is not always better. In fact, on smaller engravings, it can actually make the job take longer. That's because your laser head needs room to accelerate and decelerate as it scans back and forth. When you push that speed too high, the machine has to overshoot the edges of your design to react to that speed, which actually adds unnecessary travel time. For something like a small logo, the laser may never even hit the max speed you've even set, and instead, you're just wasting motion. Sometimes dialing the speed back a bit not only improves detail, but also gets the job done faster. I actually have a full video breaking this down in detail, so if you'd like to learn more about it and how speed settings affects engraving efficiency, I'll leave a link in the description so you can check that out. So there you have it. That's how I set up my Monport EFFI16s for the best possible engraving results. We covered line interval tuning, offset scan adjustments, and some engraving best practices and tricks that really make a difference. And remember, these tips aren't just for the EFFI16s. They'll apply to just about any CO2 laser to help you get the best possible results. And a big thanks again to Monport for sending this machine out to me to test. Honestly, I was surprised at how well it does engrave. When I first got it, I thought of it more as a cutting workhorse, but now I know it's actually very capable of detailed engravings as well. And don't forget, right now Monport has given me a special promo code BRETT10 for 10% off all machines and supplies. Normally my discount is 7%, so this is a limited time upgrade and even stacks with other deals they may be running. So if you've been thinking about upgrading or maybe dipping your toes into this hobby or even starting a side hustle, now's the perfect time to do so. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, leave me a comment with your questions, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming up next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.